Well, hello and welcome to that favorite part of the day where you sit back, relax, and we bring you very important topics and people to discuss it in depth. And today we are looking at a very, very technical matter. What are we talking about? It was in the Finder newspaper today that Cabal dupes government 490 million in petroleum sector. It's in 2016. This is coming from the BDCs, and they're saying that they've spotted a loophole where some people were taking the country, taking advantage of the country, and they hope that this loophole will be blocked. But we'll look at the industry in general, because it sometimes gets so technical that we who just go to the pump to fill out our cars or fill out our gallons, it gets so complicated. All we want is affordable fuel. One would then ask, what even is affordable? If 7 cedis is the minimum wage, what will be an affordable fuel price? But by the end of the day, we will find out what at all is going on in the industry. Again, the industry players are complaining about unfairness in the system. Some people getting subsidies and others not. Who is getting and who is not? My name is Anan Sakwa, King of Adumasa, and when I come back, I'll be talking to my guest about the petroleum sector. Don't move. Well, thank you very much for staying, and we are looking at the cabal, which is duping the state to the tune of 490 million, and that's a lot. And in Ghana, the way you measure every money is, do you know how many boreholes that can build? That tells you that the money is very, very big when that question is asked. But with me in the studio is Duncan Amwa, Secretary for Chamber of Petroleum. Duncan, you're welcome.
Thank you, your royal host. Pleasure being here.
Thank you. Pleasure having you. And Senor Jose, who is the CEO of the Chamber of Bulk BOD, Bulk
Oil Distributors.
Bulk oil distributors. Now they are a whole institution on their own. Okay, let me start with you, Senor. How did your AGM go?
It was fantastic. It was well attended, and I think everybody had a good time. You always know it when AGM ends and everybody's still hanging around, so everybody's really having a good time.
Good. Did they understand you? Because they always used to be this them and us relationship. You're seen as aliens. They're in a different world of their own. These are the oil guys, and we are here. They bring their oil, we buy, that sort of thing. Is there any attempt to bridge so that we don't see you as them and us?
Well, we try. It's not been easy. The industry has quite a negative history as far as its interaction with the public is concerned. Government used to really protect their whole concept of pricing. They didn't want anybody to know. Nobody really wanted anybody to know things. Even when government set up the MP, even pricing, there was something called confidential pricing and another thing called public pricing. So it's always had some interesting image. But I think over the past 2 years, we've been trying hard to demystify the industry. We've tried hard to get it a bit more open. And one of the things we've done this time too is actually to release an industry report that's available to the public, so you can actually read it and start getting a bit more acquainted with it. Hopefully this year we'll come up. We are going to do our conference. We did GetCon 2 years ago, and have sessions that get people to understand the industry from 0 to 100, and also sessions that helps people to know what opportunities there are. It's nothing special. I mean, it's a unique trade. I have to be honest with you, but it's nothing you can't understand if you just put your shoulder to the wheel. The only problem is that because it's oil, somebody knows only one thing, then he wants to talk about everything. So there are too many people who think they know, but often they don't know. And it's not because they can't know, but they are just quick to get out there, so they don't take their time to understand the industry. I'm still learning anyway.
Duncan, do you think the industry, don't allow us in as much as they do, or we are just, sort of paranoid or petrified of that area. I mean, the monies they talk about to start with is always millions or billions. I mean, they don't deal in thousands, you know, millions or billions. And I mean, it's not for the faint-hearted, is it?
Nana, like Senor indicated, it is not the banana and cake kind of industry where if you see banana, this is banana. And if you see cake, the taste of it sometimes will tell you. You may find about so many products out of crude at a time. And even for those in the industry, sometimes if you ask them to distinguish one product from the other, sometimes it becomes a bit of... So you don't expect everybody would understand. The baseline or the base interaction, however, between the public and the industry is one of, should I say, mutual interest. The industry will have to be there to serve the consumer. The consumer would also have nothing to move about if the industry doesn't exist. That is why for us at COPEC, we attempt at each time to balance the issues. You don't go so hard on industry so as to cripple them. And you cannot also be loose on the consumer, you know. The trotro driver, sometimes I have to think like the normal taxi driver. I have to think like the common street person. So when you tell me issues about CD dollar and I have to pay more, I would ask the naive questions. And oftentimes, well, he's come to the table. You find other industry people explain to you, this is how this happens and all of that. But out there, Nana, most of patrons of Ghanaian petroleum do not even understand what you would mean by what an import price is. And so for them, this is petrol, and petrol is 2 Ghana cedis. If the price goes to 3 Ghana cedis, yatumu 1 Ghana. I mean, it's that simple for them. Whatever accounts for increases sometimes is inexplicable to them. It's something they do not understand, and they do not intend to understand, Nana. Most Ghanaians do not intend to understand why CD, dollar, and all of those. They do not intend. All they want is reasonable prices at the pump, so when they go, can get something to go do their jobs. And I'm sure Seaboard has done well. We've done our bit. We continue to engage the public and continue to engage in such discourses as to bring the issues further down to the understanding of the taxi driver out there.
While we on the subject of understanding, Senor, this is a big issue that there's a cabal or there's some players in the industry who aren't buying from the right source and avoiding taxes. 2016, you're saying, you know, about 490 million cedis worth of taxes could have been evaded.
I think it has much more than that. This is a very conservative estimate. There's been a lot of illegal activity in the industry. It started somewhere in 2015, and it got heightened in 2016, especially with the introduction of the Energy Sector Levies Act. Because when there are taxes, often people try to look at ways of evading them. Because when you evade them, you make money. Because the tax that's supposed to go to government comes to you. And that's what's been happening. There are various ways that it happens. If you've read the report that we released, we called one thing round tripping, meaning I bring in products into the country legitimately. The nature of our trade, you don't pay taxes till the product is leaving the tank farm. So the product comes into shore and is all treated like a bonded warehouse. So you actually pay taxes when you load it into trucks.
Okay.
All right. So now when you are exporting, you don't pay taxes. You get clearance because you're moving it from Ghana to another country like Burkina Faso, Mali. So you don't need to pay taxes. It's only when it's meant for the domestic market that you pay taxes. So somebody claims he's taking products to Burkina Faso, to Mali, Bamako. And the guy reaches Kumasi or reaches Achimota and drops the product. All right, gets all the paperwork filled. It was a typical instance, somebody loaded cargo that he was sending to Bamako. He loads in the afternoon. By the next day morning, he has gone to Bamako and come. I mean, is this a plane? So I guess it's a number of that's been there. Another one too has been smuggling. smuggling, using wrong routes, illegal routes. The fishing harbor is a major route. So they have smaller boats, take the vessel cargo. So it doesn't really go into a major tank farm. So they load it right from there into trucks. It doesn't go into the bonded warehouse system, which is the tank farm, the storage facility. I think
some vessel to tank.
Some vessel to truck.
Okay.
Instead of from vessel to tank, then tank to truck. They do it from vessel to tank, to truck.
To truck.
All right, and they use smaller boats to do that. All
and there's a long hose.
A long hose to keep them to get it done. And these products are sometimes off spec. In fact, often off spec. They are not the right quality.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it was there. What amazed us that we kept saying it, government was aware, but everybody seemed to enjoy. And the rumor wasn't good because it had a lot of, the rumor suggested that there were a lot of political weight behind it. I mean, across the divide. So it was like everybody was enjoying. So you talk and talk and nothing happens. And that showed clearly in the data that came out. The economy grew. Every time the economy grows, we actually have consumption increasing, or at least at worst being stable. This time around, economy grows, definitely not that much. You have consumption for the regular products, that the ones that are taxed, all the consumption drops, and the ones that are not taxed, all right, or are not, are more regulated, everything goes up. So for the same diesel to the mines, for example, consumption increased by 8.82%. Diesel to the rigs, consumption increased by 26.25%. All right, then we have gas oil, marine, the ones that the boats to use, and that's regulated. That one went up by 8.23%. But the diesel we use for our trotros, the consumption dropped by 10.65%. It's the biggest ever. It just doesn't make sense. Then you see exports. Ghana hasn't got a special advantage with exports, all right, because we don't have Cote d'Ivoire fighting. Then suddenly our exports grew by 400%. A part of it, of the growth, was legit because you had to do some refining for Nigeria when Nigeria had their crisis. They brought some crude there, so that's a part of it. But another, about some 300% inside that 400%. You realize clearly it is exports to Achimota or exports to Kumasi, and all these things evade the tax system.
No, but we see, we went through a hike, it was when, petrol prices, really went up.
Yeah.
Significantly up. Everybody, instead of buying 5 gallons, will buy 2 gallons. Is that not where that drop would have come from?
No, not at all. No. Fuel consumption is highly inelastic. So you look at the data. And last year, prices were relatively stable and relatively stable compared to the previous year. And to some significant extent, prices were more restored other than hiking up, if you look at the trends. So some of these things, statistically, you can extrapolate and you're able to assess what the ranges are and realize, no, there's something definitely wrong with what's happening. You remember the Energy Sector Levies Act. When it was passed such that it restored prices to what they were in 2015 June. It was even lower than that. So for a good part of last year, we're still using 2015 pump prices. So what really changed? Fuel consumption doesn't drop like that. It doesn't drop like that. You need a major shake-up in the entire economy. Even though we had challenges in the economy last year, that shake-up was not as great. Doomsday did not necessarily leave, all right, either. So what will account for a 10.65% drop? That didn't make sense. So you do other factors and realize that
there were fuel in the system.
Because the fuel was in the system, but they were unrecorded. We had a lot that we call unrecorded. And a lot of people are guilty in the chain because the products that are taxed are marked. And everybody pays for that marking in the petroleum price build-up. So the question is, the places that you go and realize that the marking on ingredients at the pump station is low, definitely means that something has come in that's unmarked. So it dilutes the concentration. And it was observed. But there's been collusion across the chain. Definitely there'll be officials in the national security involved. There are officials in the MPA definitely involved. There are definitely officials within Ghana Revenue Authority involved. And definitely there are also, operators within the private sector involved, as well as some of the parastatal entities as well. It's a whole chain. 490 million is too much money to share. It's not easy money to let go. As we speak, that is still ongoing.
Duncan, will it ever stop or is come to stay?
Nana,
the
people behind this, the people behind this cabal, unfortunately, seem to be gaining grounds, and some have become very powerful politically.
They are very powerful politically.
Well, they are. And if you say the state does not know perpetrators of this activity, that would be a lie. In fact, most of them are known. They are well known. Where most of the activities go on, they are also known. Unfortunately, the closing in on them seems to be an issue. And I have had an instance where I was walked to a tank yard, you know, with a wall, almost 12 feet or whatever. Things happen from midnight till 4 a.m. You sometimes go and find the police, Navara, you know, protecting the whole show. So sometimes you are tempted to believe it is state-sponsored. Meanwhile, the state would have done very well with these revenues that my brother talks of us losing. Because like he indicated, the fuel bit is inelastic. If I have to use 5 gallons a week, whether price goes to 40 Ghana a gallon or not, I may still require the same 5 gallons. So consumption may be pretty inelastic. You cannot say prices went up, so I dropped, unless of course I do not have much to do with, you know, running around. But if I drive a trotro and the day I need to use 10 gallons, I'll use the same 10 gallons, whether at 10 Ghana cedis or 40 Ghana cedis. So where you find some of the white products dropping, meanwhile the economy is expected not to have contracted. It expanded, means... And
cars have not necessarily reduced.
Exactly.
More cars have been imported.
More cars have been imported.
More trotros have been deployed.
A lot more cars. So it's a bit...
But suddenly we are consuming air.
Less of something.
See what I told you, we are scared of this. We are scared of this industry. But let me stay with you and look at... I know you're talking about clean diesel. We've talked about this on the show before. And I think you also mentioned...
No, frankly, the MPA's response was to our publication. And at the AGM, the MPA chief executive was there. The deputy minister designate for petroleum was there. So it was part of the industry discussion. So that's how come they made those
publication about it.
Yeah, they made major pronouncements.
But Duncan, as a country, I think we have really been treated unfairly with regards to diesel. And I say this because last year I was in London. I went to Tesco's, and putting diesel in the car. So you pull the nozzle out, and it was light green. I mean, it was like something in a Sprite bottle. That's how light it was. You come back together and you look at diesel, and it's literally gas oil. The color difference. I mean, it's light. I mean, I was even wondering, is this thing thick enough to, because diesel is supposed to be heavy and burn slowly, so it gives me more mileage. The thing was so light, I was wondering, look, is it going to give me the needed mileage that I want? What's happening?
The issues are many. But again, from the industry, I was happy when the report by Public Eye, together with ASEP, the day it was launched, we both happened to have been present. And his initial comments is what gave some of us hope that all is not lost, and that indeed, for them as an industry, they will be happy to even do 10 ppm today, which is much cleaner, a lot safer for the brand new engines that we are importing into the country today. Unfortunately, where you have the only refinery not able to produce up to that spec, where we have told politicians, where we have told the government that the health of Ghanaians, the environmental challenges that clean fuel would give all of us, the longer lasting effect it has on engines. If you look at all of those combined, and if we need to do a $120 million investment in Temoyo refinery to give it a desulfurization plant, I think that if you do cost-benefit analysis, the 120 cannot outweigh the cost to public health alone. It cannot outweigh the damage to engines in our country. And so we insisted the government should go ahead and invest in TOR. Since last year, somewhere September, there was the feet dragging exercise. There were standards committee meetings, which my brother was part of it. They have stuck to their grounds. And for that, as consumers, we respect them. They have insisted all along that even if it was moved from 3,000 sulfur count to 10 ppm, they are willing to import. And that has been very consistent with them. Now you come to ask, why would the NPA, why would the Standards Authority, why would the authorities concerned not want to see all of us gravitate towards cleaner fuels? And the answers you get is, once again, the refinery. The refinery. Meanwhile, if the government had decided that, look, maybe TOR cannot be able to do 10 ppm or 50 ppm immediately. So what we are going to do is that we are going to leave dedicated tanks at TOR for the oil refinery products. That is 1,000 ppm or whatever. Importers should do their 10 or 50 ppm, and these are their dedicated tanks, so that you don't have co-mingling where products are mixed anyhow and they have to deal with, I have brought cleaner fuel, somebody is producing something not so clean as what I brought, and we have to put them all in the same tank. I was thinking we would move the discussion beyond just the desulfurization bit to look at, even if we have to go to 50 ppm, where the importers are given a dispensation to say, bring products, less supply to the system, as we look to work on the refinery. Unfortunately, it looks like we're given a January deadline. If you recall, the NPA, when the Honorable Asaga was the chief executive, said by January we're going to move to 50 ppm. Ghanaians jubilated. I was very happy and elated. We get to January and you realize the stock that we had not even been phased out. And imports that we were doing in January were nothing close to 50 ppm as the authority had suggested. We probed further, we were told, oh, by April, the gazetting process would have been, completed. And so something could be done. Only to wake up March, ending of March, to be told July. Now, indications we even pick is that we might not even meet July deadline. And that is quite worrisome. Nana.
It's a bit unfair, though, because the amount of engines that are broken down because of diesel.
Brother, the real thing is the health. I don't know how much walking you do, but have cars pass by and you have to inhale this toxic stuff. It's just not right. I must admit myself, it wasn't a priority for us at the time, even though we had discussed it. But public eye brought the thing much closer to eye. And I had to look into it a bit more. And I actually feel quite less responsible for not helping drive this thing, all this while. It's a major wrong to industry. To the consumer. But it requires very simple things like changing the standards. The MP has been saying that they need the Standards Authority to go through the gazetting and the administrative process. I agree, but they don't need to. What the Standards Authority always does is create the worst case scenario. The regulator has the authority to moderate within. They can't go and give a standard beyond the worst case scenario, but they can operate within. It's happened before. We used to have 10,000 ppm for diesel. When importers were starting 2007, they set it at 5,000 ppm. It took the Standards Authority about 3 more years to change their standards. But the industry had moved on. So it's possible for us to move on now. The real thing is what we stated in our report, that one of the things that government has to weigh in is a policy thing. What to do with TOR? Because TOR can't. Now TOR may require investments. TOR is a heavily indebted company. Do I spend $120 million in TOR? what's the opportunity cost of $120 million investment in Tor? What are guarantees that even Tor will still be able to operate efficiently, so that one day they'll be able to even recoup this investment? So there's an economic question that government has to answer. Or if we are not too comfortable about that kind of investment, looking at all the other sectors in the economy
So
and what they require.
let me come in here. How are others? You see, we talk about Tor as if it's the only refinery in the world and nobody's ever done it before. How are others? Are there not best practices that we can emulate?
There are best practices, Nana. The reason why Tor is where it is politics. We've been taking Tor debt recovery levy since 2003 or
My great grandchildren will come and take Tor recovery.
We have
levy.
collected more money than they claimed the debt was at the time, but the Tor debt is even higher than before. During Kufuor's time, he said the Tor debt, when the NDC came, they said when Kufuor said the Tor debt was about 400 million. NDC came. NDC said that after paying all this while during Kufuor's time, Atamos comes and says now the thing is 900. So what was the payment for? The 900, Mama leaves, we are in billions after all the collection. And the collection too is not small money. It's maybe about 260, 270 million cedis or so every year. That's a lot of money. All right. So why would we still be in that situation when all that we started with was 450? And because the operation itself, when you do a thorough analysis, is likely to be inefficient. So when we still refine, we're always making operational losses. When you look at the subsidies, I'll do a paper on Tor, an analysis of this debt situation soon. You look at the subsidies that government has extended to that is incurred in relation to Tor. You realize it's not that much for the period that Tor has been operational, because Tor was significantly inoperational. So you have a problem. There's something happening. Anytime you run the operation, there's likely some significant losses. We can't sustain that loss. And that is what has to be fixed. And it's simple. I tell people, politics and business don't work. The politician has different objectives. With business, it's commercial, it's profits, it's brand equity, things that you need to drive the business going forward. Politics is not. So when you appoint a political head, he's actually doing politics and not really real business. When you appoint a board, they are focused more on the politics than the business. So if I would have to buy cargo at $50, when possibly I could have bought it at 45, because as a private person, I can negotiate harder for whatever political interest, I'll still go ahead and buy at 50. It's just $5 more, but that's 1 million barrels, $5 million. It's gone. And somebody benefits from it. The enduring interest to urge people to take prudent commercial decisions does not exist when you have politicians and politically minded appointees running commercial entities. And that's why we need to take a real decision about Tor as a country. And it's not me as BDC, because we can't keep paying monies that go down the drain. Do we need to privatize Tor? Do we need to learn from the Vodafone experience? Do we need to redefine Tor? Trust me, when you take government out of Tor, Tor will work. The workers at Tor are not daft people. They are not inept. They are very competent engineers. The only thing that stands in their way most often is just politics, and that has to be looked at.
No, but we are very we are very sentimental about state assets, and Tor in particular is one of those things that if you dare tell Ghanaians, I'm taking it away from you, we will take you away from us.
Well, the Ghanaians, frankly, put a Ghanaian there and ask the Ghanaian, do you want to have lower prices? If I should reduce your price right now by 2 cedis, will you be happy? They'll be happy to do that. Do you think that they're interested in throwing 240 million cedis out there, or 260, 70 million cedis to Tor for it to just be swallowing and nothing's happening and the debt is rather increasing? Do you think that's what a Ghanaian really wants? Well, the main problem is that the issues have not been brought to the fore. There was a time in this country that we couldn't even think of Ghana and the country not owning PNT. Today, but for that decision that may not have been popular at the time, politically, and possibly even cost Kufuor a part of the MPP, a part of their electoral fortunes, we realize the benefit of it. We don't have a Vodafone that is swallowing capital out of the state. We have a Vodafone that is paying taxes, that is contributing to the advancement of the cause of the state. Once upon a time, we never even thought that the private people could manage fuel. If we were heavily dependent on toll, this country would have run down many years ago. It was the private sector involvement that helped keep this economy afloat. So we need to be careful. Where will government have to be? As far as I'm concerned, in this part of our country, we are not China. We are very selfish people. We think of ourselves first, and it's not a wrong thing, I mean, business-wise. So when people run state institutions, they don't really think about the state and the institution. They think about their interest. So it's easy to see a state-owned enterprise going down, but the people in there are going up. It doesn't make sense. So let people bear the brunt of their poor judgments. When Tom makes losses, taxpayers pay. When I make losses, I will have to pay for it. So I will not take a decision to make a loss, or I take steps to avoid the loss. But when I'm a state-run institution, I know I can do anything, I have all these sentiments and all that, I will make the losses, personally benefit, and you people will still pay. Worst case, you change me.
I mean, Duncan, Graphic is doing well, it's state-owned.
No, we have suggested.
Why can't Tor do well?
Please don't mix. No, I'm not, before you come in, the Graphic situation is different. How is Graphic manned and managed? That doesn't mean Times is doing well. But Graphic is managed very differently, significantly independent. Not absolutely, but very significantly independent.
So why can't we use that model? Keep it with the state and independent?
Nana, we have said severally that if the government would want to see a refinery that is buoyant, that is quite good, whose books we can predict, the government should float shares from Tor so that the public can take up some of the debt and inject some capital into Tor. By so doing, if you put in a management that comes and they know they are accountable to their shareholders, certain decisions that are taken oftentimes anyhow would not be taken. Let's finish with Tor before we get to
No, just say like a
but let me tell you, see, save what happened in 2016 and maybe 2016 or a part of 2015. Goyle has been fairly professionally run. Exactly. And it's because it's a listed company.
It's a listed company.
And because it's also a listed company, there's quite some private participation. All right, even though now you have a lot more.
So what I'm saying, can we use that model
exactly? Exactly the point, and I'm sure he would agree towards the end. If we could privatize or list, Tor, don't sell it to a multinational. Sell it to Ghanaians to buy shares in there.
My brother, so Tor situation, the debt that Tor has today is enough to build a whole new modern refinery.
Good.
A very modern refinery. Doing maybe three times.
We are not willing to dispose of that asset.
No, I'm just saying.
I agree.
That is the extent of the debt. That is the cost of our sometimes ridiculous sentimentality.
But then we have the structure there now. So what do we do?
And the structure itself is over $1 billion.
No.
Yes.
No, it's not. I beg you. You're also getting used to the industry. Take your time. It is not. That the refinery has challenges with its technology, less modern. It has challenges with its capacity. There's still infrastructure around it that is still relevant. Net it out and see its real position. If you have to...
And you don't think Tor is worth $1 billion?
$1 billion? Of course not. Nobody will pay me $100 million for Tor.
I don't think so.
Well, you don't need to think so. You need to understand the industry.
Apart from Nigeria, is there any other refinery anywhere?
There are refineries. And very soon, we are going to have the biggest refinery around. I mean, just around. We have the Ivorian refinery. That works. It works fairly efficiently, all right? But that structures, you have an asset like that. In finance, you see some of these things at sunk cost. What investment can I make for us to make sure that going for the incremental returns will still make today's investment prudent? Tor somewhat will have challenges under its management structure. There's been so much playing with Tor that has happened.
But if you take the politics out, as you mentioned, and then, sell a certain percentage to private, so that
the private sector to control Tor. I'm not saying BDCs. I don't care really if it's a foreign entity or not. Assets belong to the state. The state should find that asset not as a burden, but something as rewarding. So if you're going to need a foreign player, like Vodafone did, to come and take over the place, make the necessary investment, throw out any technology that doesn't work, downsize the staff if that's what is required for that size of refinery, or expand it so that the staff there can be able to match what you have there, that's fine. Let the asset be efficient. Let it return to the economy. That is efficient use of resources. I'm an economist, so I get sensitive about asset utilization, and that's a problem.
Well, I'm a protectionist, and so I think there are certain things which, for pride and dignity, you should also make it work so you can say you made something.
British Petroleum doesn't belong to the British.
It doesn't matter, but there are certain things that belong to them.
Petroleum. It is still British Petroleum.
No, but that's no problem. What do you call it?
So it's like American Airlines. I mean, if private people have shares in there, that's their problem. But it's an airline that belongs to the Americans. I am saying that the refinery, because of the CBM and this location, if you decided to sell Tor today, you would not record anything less than $1 billion. My brother can contest it.
I'm sorry, you don't understand the industry.
No, my brother can contest it.
But that's not the case. You get that. You don't put unnecessary burden on government. It becomes another story. So you can let it go. You can get $1 billion and not get $1 billion.
I'm not
put
asking
$1 billion
government to sell Tor for $1 billion.
No,
but it is an asset. Even the tanks alone is huge.
Do you know how businesses are valued? You think businesses are valued by taking the cheese here, the cheese there, the cheese there.
If you don't take the cheese here, you are talking of the refinery.
You don't value businesses.
Now, what I am saying, let's hold your 100 million. I mean,
I haven't said so. I haven't said you get 100 million.
You said you may not. Yes. So let's hold that K as a constant, right? Is there a possibility the refinery could be run more efficiently to give benefits to the country? If the answer is
let me
yes,
explain to you.
then let's go for that model. And that is what we've been saying all along. If there's a possibility for the government to float shares such that some part of Tor's debt could actually be knocked down, by whatever, investments people decide to throw at it. I don't know if Sen would allow me to.
I help you some finance. We have to educate people. That's what I'm saying. Look,
Sen,
let me tell you, you don't throw shares to just knock down debt.
You are not knocking down debt, but once you throw shares, you are bringing in some investment. And it's a natural thing. And that investment, you could decide to either recapitalize the organization or decide to knock down some of the debt.
How do you think businesses are valued?
Send.
Well, so the state can pay the debt, float the shares, and then get the profit back later.
Exactly. Either way.
Let me tell you.
We are just going wrong.
You cannot value, when you value a company, you look at the free cash flows of the company. You don't just look at the fiscal things sitting there. This business has this kind of pressure. Are you able to value Tor as a corporate entity of that much? No. But if government sees, as a member, I have an advisory responsibility to the ministry. I'm a member of the advisory board. And we've told them a number of times, if you really want to deal with Tor, first of all, ring fence the debt. Take the debt out of Tor. So Tor, for starters, becomes clean. Let's get a structure, whether with the recovery levy, whatever it is, to pay out down this thing. Now, you have the rest of the business. It needs investment. Then you can start valuing it. Because somebody needs investment, can generate free cash flows, and can value the business and turn the business around. That's possible. But that would mean that you, government, must step out or significantly lower your stake in that business, because you've also taken out the debt. But you can't have Tor as it is now today, with everything that it is in there, and ever think you'll get $1 billion. $1 billion builds a whole new refinery. If you have $1 billion, you will build a refinery. You
won't get the position and the advantage. It all adds up.
Position and advantage. Let me ask you a question, Nana. The fuel that we have here that we've been selling right now in this town, which position is near Tor? You see the land at Pram Pram. You see the land that's possibly at Kita. That a refinery could probably sit somewhere in the Volta region and feed the whole Togo market and feed the Ghana market, just like Diamond Cement is doing. Your location is not super special. That can be turned around today with technology. So if government is really serious about it, for starters, we must accept government has no place in this business. Sit down, regulate, take your taxes. Let the private sector handle it because they'll take commercial decisions, not political decisions. Take the debt out, then you can now have proper valuation.
But I think you're on the same page, just on different angles.
Invariably, he comes to my point.
No, you see, you are saying that Thor today,
what I am
you
saying,
can value Thor today. I said you don't value businesses that way.
I
mean, this is finance.
We have been consistent that the government could decide to offload shares, right? Its equity in Thor, to bring in the Ghanaian people, right? Let's contribute something. Some amount of the debt, if we should contribute, could go. Some could be used for risk capitalization, even going for crude, enhancing stuff. So that if there's a way Thor could become efficiently run and profitable to the economy of Ghana, most of us would want to see Thor, continuously run. Even though at present, not much is being gotten out of it. But again, like you asked, if the GOL model was applied, would it work? If the answer is yes, I do not think GOL at present doing over 1 billion revenue annually. If you were to value GOL, right, based on their assets and whatever, you value GOL higher than you would Thor. But on a business model, from their operations, their cash flows and all of that. But Thor is significant to Ghana's economy. And we are saying that indeed.
Let's be careful what we are asking for. From what I want to get a bit of
private investment.
Is it that we are saying that this country needs a refinery or this country needs Thor? They are two different things.
The country would need a refinery.
They are two different things. So that refinery does not necessarily need to be.
But then the Thor infrastructure is there.
The Thor infrastructure is there.
So let's, if you want to leverage it. So that's what I say. Don't say Ghana needs Thor.
Okay.
Thor today is an economic burden to the economy, and it's an economic
because of the politicians that you mentioned.
Because of the way
we need Thor. You are scaring me as I say we need the politicians back in this business to stay in that way. I beg you. Because the country needs a refinery.
I said let us list Thor.
Okay, no, please let me tell you. Hold on, you cannot list Thor in this current state. Nobody will buy you. You won't buy.
But we'll refix it because the same thing with GOL. They put the debt on bust, move it, and they move GOL along and they go. But let me move to this question.
If you're able to move the debt, you can list
okay, let me.
But if not, you can't list.
So help me out.
Today, you can't list.
What's this idea about? For every 5 cars, we need a filling station. What's happening?
Well, when you have certain kinds of funds running through the economy, and people suddenly get awash with some kind of funds with very limited business ideas.
They build a filling station.
And the regulation is not as tight as it could be. Everybody goes to want to build a filling station. BDCs so have contributed to that. The excessive competition led to trade credit. A lot of, in my estimation, quite some not so responsible trade credit. And that also got oil marketing companies a bit of perceived free money. Because what happens is that they breach the terms of the trade credit and they rather use the money into capex investment like filling stations, thinking that it will boost their volumes. But for you to really get the right volumes to make a filling station prudent, you definitely need to have some kind of volume support. You don't have that. The market is not big enough for some of this. So most of the stations you see today are not well utilized, but it's just another way of
you were in this before I come to Duncan. Sometimes there's one here, and then there's another just there. There must be something apart from just selling petrol.
It is a way of also doing certain things.
If you mention those certain things, why are you going? People have to launder their money and wash money. Anything at all.
To do things.
Anything at all happens. But
so viewers, they are for things. They are not necessarily for you to go and fill up. So when you are driving past, don't worry. They are for other things. Because
no. We have said the number of stations could go. A number of stations. The siting of a lot of them. If the EPA and MPA decided that before you construct a fuel station, let us put the information out there that these properties or plots are asking for fuel stations. Let them go to that community. Do environmental assessment. If there's a small community, you have 10 stations already. community of a population of 20,000 people, about 200 cars in that community, and you already have 10 fuel stations, and others are still, asking to put in more.
But that you also have a fleet station. That's
You
a
see,
joke.
that is mischief. I told you, when he wants to do other mischief, you know, you know. So, in the absence of stricter regulatory framework, people will continue to build, and it will get to a point where filling stations would exceed the number of churches.
I hear Boko has almost equal number of stations as in Accra.
They may have
that's
many as a country called Togo may have, a small town.
No, what you sometimes used to have.
I hear Boko they have like a lane where it's just filling stations.
I mean, there was some towards Magnum were subsidizing, so it was cheaper here than elsewhere. I don't think we have too much of that issue now, unless those stations are now taking in.
Those stations are equally doing the export business.
No, not the export.
Some of them are really
They are not really doing the export because it doesn't make too much sense with your truck going too far for that when consumption is really at this side. So what those ones may be doing, would rather be taking the smuggling, the non-taxed, the smuggling, inward smuggling. That's what you may get. But I think a number of them were done when products were subsidized, so were smuggling out. So the border towns had quite some significant volumes.
But now it's coming down.
I think it's not as lucrative.
Deregulation, good news or bad news?
I mean, he's the consumer, so let me hear.
No, you see,
deregulation. The Seaboard really championed that because of government's inability to meet its subsidy commitments, and that was running the industry down and the economy as a whole. So that was a problem. All right, so we moved for that because that was the ultimate way to really cure this problem. So that was good conceptually, but government also took steps that defeated the whole concept because deregulation also thrives with fair competition. Unfortunately, competition in the past year and a half has not been fair, especially in the last year was not fair. What government was doing was your protectionist thing, subsidizing bus.
that issue again.
That's subsidizing bus.
That
It's in the report.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not something that's
I read it.
that's secret. It's something that the
But
new
you see,
government is aware of.
just quickly,
But let me
when they
honest
subsidize
with you.
bus, is
Yeah.
it only Goil that is allowed to buy from bus, or everybody can
So
buy?
let me show you how it works.
Quickly, so that I
It's
can
very
bring Duncan
simple.
in
Look
before
at
we
the
close.
volumes that Boss has distributed to the market. Boss hasn't sold really to only Go. I mean, they call it Go Energy. They've not sold to only Go Energy. That's the major player. So there's different pricing for everybody. The whole concept is actually meant for Go Energy. So when you Go, which is the largest distributor, has hardly imported any product the whole of last year. You are the largest, and your business is to import, to augment refining output, and you don't import. Why? It is cheaper to buy from somebody who has already imported. But government can't subsidize Go Energy because Goil is a listed company, so there are rules that it has to work with. You can't have that kind of subsidy.
Oh.
But what you have is that you have the state-owned bus, so government can subsidize bus, and bus can deliver lower prices to Goil. Government
Very unfair to Duncan, but you have 30 seconds to rebut.
No,
Duncan, you have 30 seconds to
You
rebut.
see, he knows how to rebut this one.
I don't have a problem with any. If you should know.
No, you see,
The current finance minister has questioned some of those payments.
Let's go.
I think the regulation is good. It should be protected. But then again, we have an issue with the benchmarking situation, where other stations, instead of setting their own prices, sourcing for products, we'll look at some of the major players and fix any prices at all.
But you're going to talk about the issue of the
I would leave that one. I would leave that one.
But thank you very much for tuning in. I give you this number 024-366-2001. 024-366-2001. Tantis Fashions, they make my shirts for the show. Thank you very much for watching. Tomorrow we'll be back to do this all over again. And thank you very much, Senor, and thank you, Duncan, for gracing our show. Yes, I know, time. Mr. Director, next time give you a bit more time. Thank you.